Hey everyone, welcome to another repair video. In this video today we're going to be working on a PS4. This is the PS4 Fat, which has come in for no display. So the customer didn't really give me much information on this, and I'm not really that sure what's wrong with it. So all they said is that something to do with the HDMI port was messed with, and now it doesn't work. It doesn't display anything on the screen. So not really sure what to expect with this one, but we're going to find out together. So let's go ahead and first of all pop in some power. Let's take a HDMI lead. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to turn this on now in 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's been detected by the monitor, and then the screen is just shut off. So it came onto HDMI on the monitor, and the screen just shut off on me. Let's see if we get a white light, shall we? That we do. Get a white light. So let's turn the screen on now. We get nothing on the screen at all, so you can see that's just flickering between analog and HDMI, but absolutely nothing on the screen at all. And we do have a white light, which means that all system checks have passed. So that tells me that there's either going to be something wrong with the HDMI circuit, there could possibly be something wrong with the hard drive. So that screw for a start was loose. So we've got a 500 gig hard drive. So now let's power it down. Let's pop power back into it. Let's see if we get anything on the screen with another hard drive. So this is a test hard drive. So I'm just going to I'm going to try and get it to... Oh damn it, the bloody thing's come on. Right, let's just let's put it into the caddy, shall we, because I'm not going to get that to slide in. I usually do manage to get them in. All this time the console is turning on, and we can see if it comes into safe mode. Okay, so there's the customer's hard drive. So let's pop in one of our own hard drives. Whoopsie. I'm just popping in a couple of screws. Don't need to put all 4 in for this. Right, we have a white light. Okay, nothing on the screen, so let's power it down. Right, so I'm going to pair it on with my own hard drive, just see if we get anything on the screen now. Okay, that came onto HDMI for a second. That's in safe mode right now. It came onto HDMI for a second, and then it went off. Okay, cool. Right, okay, so that's an issue with the HDMI circuit. It's not going to be an issue with the hard drive because it's going into safe mode. Okay, so since this is an issue with the HDMI circuit, not with the hard drive, there's going to be a few things that this could possibly be. The first thing that it could possibly be is the HDMI port itself. Now, I've already had a look inside the port, and the port looks good. So you can see there it's fairly straight, there's no bent pins. So the port looks good. Now, there could still be some damage to the pins on the back, and if that's the case, then it's just a case of resoldering them. If the HDMI port has been messed with, and obviously the warranty seals have gone off this, so this has been opened up in depth. It also looks fairly clean inside, which means it's probably had a good clean. But if the HDMI port's been messed with by another technician and it's been damaged, then there's a good chance that it could have some pull pads. If there's no pull pads and the pins are all intact, then it's likely going to be an issue with either one of the EMI filters, or it could be an issue with the Panasonic HDMI encoder IC. So the Panasonic HDMI encoder IC in these is on the back of the board, and it's underneath a really big shield. Them big shields are fairly hard to get off. However, when you do get them off, you are greeted with a MN86471A HDMI encoder IC. It's not to be confused with the MN864729, which is the HDMI encoder IC for a PS4 Slim and Pro, and also the 1200 series on the PS4 Fat, that they released a little later on down the line, the newer revision of the PS4 Fat. The new revision is the one with the quieter fan. It's got more power efficiency, but this one is going to be either an SIA001 or an SIB001. I'm going to say, judging by the design of the power supply, this little cutout here, it's going to be the SIB001 revision. So it's going to be one of the later model PS4 Fats, the one that runs a little bit quieter than its older brother. So let's pop off the power supply. Okay, and let's remove this screw here. This is definitely the SIB001. The reason I know that is because this screw is here, this Phillips screw. They don't go in the SIA001s. You only find them in the SIBs. So this is definitely going to be the SIB001 revision. Not that it makes much of a difference. The parts are still the same. It's just got more power efficiency and it's a little bit quieter when you're operating the machine. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's pop off the top case. Right, and that doesn't want to come off. There we go. And okay, so let's pop that to one side. I will say that the case is very, very clean, so this has definitely been opened and someone's definitely been inside this. Not that it matters too much, but if there's technician damage to this, then it's going to really annoy me because I'm kind of getting sick of seeing other technicians break people's stuff. We all make mistakes and stuff, but if you're not confident in what you do or you're not experienced, then get experienced before you work on other people's stuff. Break your own stuff by all means, just don't break your customers and then expect people like me to clean it up. Okay, anyway. Yeah, this top frame is very clean as well, so that's definitely had a clean. So this has been taken apart in depth by the looks of it. Not just a case of taking it apart a little bit and then blowing air through it. This has been cleaned properly. Which is good because it means I don't have to do it. It's less work for me. As you may know by now, I won't put it back together if it's got any kind of dust in it. Right, anyway, we can get to the motherboard now. So let's take a look. Okay. Let's pop the chassis out of the way. And let's take a look at the board. So yeah, it's the SAB001, which is the later model, and looking at that port, it looks fairly clean. Yeah, that's a factory port. That is a factory port, which means that the port hasn't been messed with. I was sure that the customer said that the port had been changed. He mentioned something to do with the port, I know that much. Of course I get a lot of consoles in and it's kind of hard to keep track, so I could be wrong in what he said. Generally I do my own diagnosis anyway. Okay, those back legs look absolutely fine. Cool. So, before I go any further then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the multimeter and I'm going to pop it into diode mode. I'm just going to test this diode here because it's kind of a forgotten diode. Yep, that's working. 550 on the multimeter, and it's not working on the other side. So a diode essentially allows the flow of electricity through only one direction. So we get no reading that side. Yep, okay. So that diode is working. Just make sure that these resistors are not shorted. Okay, we don't seem to have any shorts on any of those caps around here, which is good. Awesome, so there's no shorts around there. So what I'm going to do now is I need to take it apart, turn it around, and I'm going to need to take this shield off. So I need to get to the HDMI Encoder IC, which is underneath here, and also there are some EMI filters and a couple of other little filters and caps around here, which is likely going to be the issue. So the first thing I'll test is obviously the EMI filters. Essentially all the EMI filters do is filter. It's a coil of wire and it just filters out noise. Sometimes they blow, sometimes they become shorted with their neighbour, and sometimes they become shorted to ground. Now if they become shorted to ground, then the only path to ground is going to be through the chip. If they're not shorted to ground but they're shorted across each other, it could be one of two things. It could be either the EMI filter itself has gone bad, or it could be that the chip's gone bad. So that's going to be the next steps. So to take this shield off, I'm going to need to use some hot air. So we're going to move over to the rework area where the microscope and the soldering iron is, and then we'll carry on testing the components. Right, okay, so finally we got that shield off. That's a bit of a pain in the backside to do, and you'll notice that I put a temperature probe underneath the shield. That was because I needed to make sure that the board was hitting the right kind of temperature to be able to remove the shield. Now my heat gun is just a little cheapie. It's not an expensive heat gun, so I'm not 100% sure on what kind of temperature it puts out, but I did just read the temperature at around about 260 degrees C, so that was enough to get it out, but it was just taking a while and I had to change the nozzle as well. So what I'm going to do now that I've got the shield off is I'm going to take a look around this area here. So this area here is where the HDMI encoder IC lives, and also you'll notice at the top that there's 4 little components here. These are the EMI filters. And as explained, the EMI filters are responsible for filtering out noise before it goes out to the HDMI. And we need to make sure that we've got continuity across all of these filters, because these are known to go bad from every once in a while. So we need to make sure we've got continuity across the top and the bottom. There's 2 filters on each of these 4 components. So there's one here and there's one here. And we need to make sure that we've got continuity between them. And also we need to make sure that we don't have continuity across one or the other, and finally we need to make sure that we don't have any continuity to ground. So I'm going to run across with the multimeter in continuity mode. That's the mode that goes beep when we complete the circuit. So let's just run from the top to the bottom. So all of those filters are checking out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to probe ground, and I'm just going to check. I'm going to run across all of these once more. Just make sure that none of them are shorted, and that I didn't miss one. Good, so we've got no shorts to ground there. So let's make sure that we've got no shorts to ground on this row of capacitors here. Okay, so we have no shorts to ground on anywhere where there shouldn't be. So everywhere there is checking okay. So I'm going to inspect the port itself under the microscope, make sure that there's no pins that I didn't miss. Okay, and the port itself again looks absolutely mint, so that's telling me one thing and one thing only, and that is that the MN86471A HDMI encoder IC has very likely gone bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this chip, I'm going to take one from a donor board and I'm going to replace that chip, and that should fix the no display issue. I'm just going to clean up the area. Like so. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my soldering iron and I'm just going to run across these pins on the HDMI port itself, and I'm using this board holder just to hold that into position because it's too wobbly otherwise. I'm just going to use that to hold the corner in position, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some leaded solder to all of these pins across here, make this chip easier to remove. And then we'll remove that, get it changed over for another chip, and hopefully that'll fix the problem. So I'm going to add some flux. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take my soldering iron. My soldering iron is set to 480 degrees, and I'm just going to run across these pins. And it doesn't matter about bridging because this chip is coming off, so it doesn't make a difference about bridging at all. So all I want to do is just lower the melting temperature of the solder that's on there. The solder that's on there is leaded solder, and it takes too much heat to remove. Makes these chips really difficult, and by adding some leaded solder it's going to lower the melting temperature slightly and help us to remove this chip without having to expose the board too much. Obviously we've already exposed it to a fair bit of heat, but the less heat that we can expose it to, the better. So we just do what we can to lower the melting temperature as quick as we can. Okay, so that's got enough leaded solder there now. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to use a heat gun, and I'm just going to use heat around the chip and remove this chip from the board. Okay, so now that we've removed the chip, we can put another chip on. And I've just taken one off a donor board, which is just here. So I'm going to give the chip a little clean up using some isopropyl alcohol, and that's just so as I can see the dot in the corner and so I know where to put it on the board. So I'm going to take a Q-tip and some isopropyl, and just give it a little wipe down. There we go. So now I can see the dot in the top corner, which is going to give me an indication of where it goes on the board. Now these chips, when you're facing the board this way with the HDMI port facing away from you, the chip goes on backwards, or under. The chip goes on with the writing flipped upside down. So that's the easiest way I remember, but of course you still need to be able to see the writing. So I'm going to use a bit more isopropyl on a toothbrush, just give this area a nice clean, get it nice and clean, ready for the new chip. And then I'm going to inspect and make sure I don't have any lifted pads, and also that we've not got any missing components around the area, which of course we shouldn't have. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take some fresh flux. I'd actually rather first I'm going to make sure we've got no pull pads and components missing, which we haven't. Or not by the looks of it. I will know more once I've cleaned it all up. So I'll add some flux around these solder pads. I'm going to take my soldering iron and I'm just going to run the soldering iron across and just flatten out these pads, make them all nice and fresh. There's already leaded solder there, so it should clean up nicely. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to replace the edges of this shield where the shield soldered on to pop some leaded solder there. For this I'm going to need to use the heat gun and the soldering iron, so bear with me. Okay, so now that we've got the leaded solder, lead-free solder replaced by leaded solder on those ground pads, let's go ahead and pop this chip into position and hopefully we can get this thing working again. So I'm just going to orient this so as it's in the correct location, and just there will do nicely. And now I'm just going to use some hot air just to pop this into place, and then I'll use the soldering iron afterwards and solder all of the legs manually as well. Okay, so that's in position now. So let's run across with the soldering iron, solder all these legs manually and get this thing tested, shall we? Okay, so a little bridge here on the bottom pins. I'm going to sort that out with some solder wick. Okay, so that seems okay, but I'm going to run across all of these pins with the tweezers, just make sure that there's no loose pins. If there is, we can always sort them out, it's not a big deal. First of all, I'm going to clean up the area using, again, some isopropyl alcohol. So now let's just give all of these pins a quick nudge test. Right, all of these pins on this side are loose. So add some more flux. So not enough solder on that left hand side, or the top as you're seeing it. Right, okay, so I've double checked and quadruple checked the pins on that chip. Every single pin is soldered, no, not one pin is bridged, and we've got not one loose pin at all. The orientation is correct, so all that's left to do is just to, first of all, pop the shield back on, because it does help reduce noise. So I'm going to solder this shield back on and just make sure that it's got as much protection from noise as possible. So that's really simple. Obviously we're just going to dab it with solder around the edges. So let's do that now. Right, okay, so let's get this thing tested, shall we? The shield is back on. We're ready to pop it back inside the case and get it tested. Okay, so before we go any further, I'm just going to clean up the old thermal paste. And let's also clean it from off the motherboard itself as well. Right, fresh thermal paste, here we go. And let's pop it into the case. So we have all the thermal pads here. There's two there for there, and then the rest are all around there. So we don't have any missing from there, which is good. Okay, we do have two missing from here, however. So let's pop a couple of new pads on there. There we go. So I'm not going to put this completely back together. I want to get it tested first. So the plan is just to pop the heatsink on, pop the power supply in and give it a quick test. Okay. Right, let's flip it over. Let's pop in the disk drive. And the reason I'm doing this now, even though I'm just testing, is because I won't need to take this bit back apart if it does work. I'll just need to put everything back together and screw everything in. So I'm going to put the screws in which I don't need to take back out if it works, such as this Phillips screw here. There we go. Time for the power supply. I'm going to pop a couple of screws in here just to make sure that doesn't drop out and rip connectors off the board. That's something we don't want to happen. So if this works, then I won't need to take this power supply back off, and that's why I'm putting some screws in. Hopefully the donor chip that I've used is a good chip. Fingers crossed. I don't really fancy doing that all again, if I can help it. There we go. Right, so let's flip this over now. Let's pop in our test hard drive. Now this, remember, this one is my hard drive. I never took it back out of the caddy. So this one is my hard drive. The customer's hard drive is next to me. I haven't got them mixed up. I do know which one is which. Right, so let's plug in HDMI lead. We're going to turn it on in 3, 2, 1. Did we get a white light? We do. Good. Okay, and there we go. That is showing up on the screen. So hopefully you can see that. But that's showing up on the screen. We've got a display, and this console is working again. Right, cool. That's awesome. So let's unplug this. And now all that's left to do with this thing is to obviously get it all back together, get it all reassembled, put the customer's hard drive back in, and then we can call this job done. Right, so let's pop that back in there. Let's switch to HDMI and turn it on in 3, 2, 1. and for some reason it's still saying cannot start the PS4. So I've got a feeling that the hard drive may need formatting. Right, so let's plug in a controller. Right, so I've just restarted the PS4 quickly. See if it loads up this time. Right, and this is taking an awful long time to start up. So I've got a feeling the hard drive might be bad as well. Right, so let's set the video resolution to 1080p. And there we go. Right, I don't know what happened with the hard drive the last time. Giving the port a wiggle, that's not doing anything, which means the port is good. The customer did ask me to change the port on this, but if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'm not going to change the port when there's nothing at all wrong with this one. So yeah, let's consider that done. Right, I'm going to reboot this once more. Just make sure that it picks up the hard drive, and then we'll call it done. Okay, that's picked up. Oh, that's fine. No worries. Probably just a little glitch. Yeah, let's consider this job done. Let's just... Yeah, let's just go ahead and test, make sure we can pick up Wi-Fi. And that the storage is reading correct. Should be 500 gig. That it is. Can we pick up Wi-Fi? We can. Good. Okay, so this is pretty much done. I'm going to give the customer a text message to let him know that it's ready for collection. So let's just conclude this. The issue with this was that the MN86471A HDMI Encoder IC had gone bad. Most likely scenario for this is that the HDMI port has been unplugged. The HDMI cable has been unplugged while it's been turned on, and then possibly shorted out when they've plugged a port back in. The reason it does that is because when you wiggle the cable around and you touch two pins together that shouldn't, for example a data line and a data line and a ground, it can blow the chip, and that's most likely what's happened here. So by changing the HDMI encoder IC, we've managed to restore this console, get it back up and running. The customer, I'm sure, is going to be very happy at that. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down in the comments below. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more trying to fix videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I do post a lot of repairs on YouTube. I'm trying really hard to get to 5,000 subscribers, and if you could help me get there by the end of the year, that would be fantastic. But thanks very much for watching, and until next time, see you all later. Bye for now.